What's good, people? It's Afresian here, and it's time to educate these kids once again. As we all know, Gojo and Sukuna have been fighting in the manga for like 10 straight chapters now, and apparently there's this agenda that's been going on in the JJK fandom and even across the anime community, and it's that Sukuna, the king of curses, is a fraud. Yes, you heard it right. Sukuna, the same guy that Gojo, who is supposed to be the strongest, the same guy he has been trying to kill for 11 chapters straight and failing at it, by the way. That guy is a fraud. Yes, some people across YouTube and TikTok have even made claims like, oh, the fight has been so easy for Gojo, he should have just sent Yuta to do the job. Yuta that was struggling with Ryu, the same Ryu Ishigori that Sukuna low-diffed by dancing past him. Okay, send him, just send him. And this agenda has done in number on the community. It's actually crazy. It's damn near Plague of Gripes level of misrepresentation. And the craziest part about this entire discourse is that even the so-called JJK power scalers in the community, who are supposed to break things down for other people that can't, they are also pushing this dumb narrative as well. But I'll be lying if I say I'm surprised. Needless to say, the whole agenda comes down to a lack of critical thinking on the viewer's part. And in this video, I'll be debunking the whole narrative. Trust me. Now, make no mistake. This isn't a video to change people's minds. I could care less about how many of y'all call Sukuna a fraud. This video is just to put the facts out there. Gege Akutami needs to know that not all of us reading his series are slow. So, with all that being said, let's dive in. So, there's one particular reason as to why people are calling Sukuna a fraud, and that's because, in their own words, he's not using his own techniques and he's being carried by Mahoraga. Carried by Mahoraga. Let me now tell you why this logic you people have been yapping about doesn't fly here. First off, calling Sukuna a fraud for using Mahoraga or the 10 shadows makes no sense because a curse technique or a curse spirit or a shikigami is only as powerful as its user or its summoner. And not only is this implied narratively by Gege Akutami, it's also explicitly stated by Kenjaku in his battle with Choso. And besides, it's only common sense. You know, a knife is a deadly weapon. Yes, that is something that is universally true. But in the hands of a baby, it's damn near harmless. Mahoraga in the hands of Sukuna isn't the same thing as Mahoraga in the hands of other sorcerers. You could literally give the 10 shadows to anybody else in the verse and they'll still lose to Gojo, so use some sense and find the common denominator there. Trust me, it's not that hard. Unless you think any other sorcerer with the 10 shadows, regardless of who they are, would go head to head with Gojo like this. And if you actually believe that, then you must be smoking gum. Give Mahoraga to Genjaku, he's still getting washed. Give Mahoraga to Yuta, Gojo still stomps all 3 of them in one chapter, and that's just facts. Mahoraga isn't some wish-granting OP technique that instantly gives you a W. That's why Sukuna in a much weaker state of 15 fingers could completely furtherize it at mid difficulty. So once again, people, it's just common sense. Also, calling Sukuna a fraud for using the 10 shadows because it's not his innate ability is dumb, because its acquisition and usage is still based off Sukuna's ability to jump bodies and then acquire the curse technique of the host. And this was always known from the jump, so why the tears? Just like how it would be stupid to call Yuta copying abilities fraud when it's quite literally an offset of his own curse technique and capabilities. Makes no sense. Same with Kenjaku. And it was pre-established from the beginning of the series that Sukuna split his soul and turned them into cursed objects. And with that, he can reincarnate into hosts and use them. So why is everybody crying now? Like, I know you guys want to push agenda, but come on, man. So when people say things like Mahoraga is carrying Sukuna, all that does is show your lack of critical thinking, because Mahoraga by itself wouldn't last a whole chapter against Gojo. Even the slowest Gojo fanboy should know this. And the way Sukuna's own prowess itself has been undermined in the whole discourse is actually insane. So let me open your eyes. Before now, not only has Gojo never had to go all out, not even remotely close, and I'm not talking about when he fought Toji, that wasn't peak Gojo. I'm talking about post-Toji new era Gojo, the one that's fully mastered all his abilities to his peak. He's been so superior to everyone that he's faced. Every fight that he's had, he's ended it in like a full chapter at most. But Sukuna is out here making him go all out across 11 chapters straight, and y'all think he's weak. Bruh, y'all need to drop that crack you're smoking. How would Mahoraga carry someone stronger than itself? Does that make any sense? Or are there people out there that actually believe that Mahoraga is stronger than Sukuna himself? There's no way you read Shibuya arc if you believe that. There's no way. And if you've been following this fight properly, from a narrative standpoint, these two are consistently portrayed and implied to be equals, neck and neck, going as far as being equal in the domain clash, which is the peak of Jujutsu sorcery. And Sukuna is out here utilizing the 10 shadows technique better than any of the previous users in history, including the so-called 15-year-old y'all keep crying about. Talking about making me this and that, like he even remotely scales to Sukuna in any way. Sukuna's skill in Jujutsu is so otherworldly. He has completely taken the usage of the 10 shadows beyond the scope of standard Jujutsu. So much so that he is now utilizing the techniques of the Shikigamis without actually summoning them. And we literally see Gojo admit that Sukuna is matching his skill, implying they are on the same level. That is the entire point of this fight. Him using the 10 shadows to these absurd levels is a skill feat. Sukuna himself is just built different. That's all it is. All of you want to call Sukuna a fraud for using the 10 shadows, which is already based off his own capabilities, by the way. I'll forever remind you all of that. Summoning Mahoraga especially takes a ridiculous amount of cursed energy. There is all of that, but nobody wants to talk about how he actually has the speed and power to contend with Gojo. How he's been able to tank and survive literally everything that's been thrown at him. This dude literally blocks and tanks Gojo's 200% Holo Purple at the beginning of the fight. That's when you people should have known what time it was. Crazy as hell. He even tanked Unlimited Void, bruh. Took the brunt of the attack and just kept it going. But Afro was only able to do that because he was in Megumi's body. No, dummy. He was able to do that because of his own skill, intelligence, and experience in Jujutsu. That's what happened. That's what has been happening this whole time. He's just that guy. So when people make stupid claims like he's being carried by Mahoraga, all you are doing is foolishly dumbing down Sukuna's actual capabilities in terms of skill in Jujutsu and utilizing what he has. And you're also ignoring other battle factors like power, speed, durability, as well as cursed energy manipulation and efficiency. This dude is literally going head to head with Gojo, who has a natural advantage of the 6 eyes, helping him minimize cursed energy usage to 0. And Sukuna is just going straight at him relentlessly. Stamina for stamina, no problem. And you're here talking about Mahoraga. Where is the sense in that? So, didn't any of these people see the difference in Niue's size and power when Sukuna summoned it in comparison to when Megumi used it? What do you think happened there? Since both Megumi and Sukuna are 10 shadow users, why wasn't Megumi able to use it on that same level then? It's just common sense. The reason why Mahoraga has been a threat to Gojo in this fight is only, and when I say only, I mean only because the Shikigami is actually being foiled by Sukuna's own cursed energy, and because Sukuna's skill and battle IQ is so high, he's able to utilize Mahoraga and the rest of the 10 shadows in ways that no previous 10 shadows user has ever been able to. That is all Sukuna. That is all it is. He is just him. And the funniest part about this whole thing is Gojo came into this fight with intel on the 10 shadows. Gojo knows the full potential of this technique, yet he's being so pressured by Sukuna to the point where he's starting to have dead flashes, throwing his ass back to the time when Toji whooped his ass. Things in our beans. Gojo already know about the 10 shadows before the fight. He just can't do anything about it because Sukuna is built different. That's all it is. Even the same Gojo fangirls making these fraud jokes knew about the 10 shadows and still double down on Gojo taking this fight easy. But as they've seen that Sukuna is just way too tough, niggas then want to talk about fraud. The copium is crazy. So here's what it is. The next time any of you and your power skillers want to call Sukuna a fraud, here's a few questions you should ask yourself first. I personally made these questions for you people. Question 1. If Mahoraga is such a big deal, so much so that it's carrying Sukuna, how was Sukuna able to defeat it in a much weaker state of 15 fingers back in Shibuya? I mean, since Mahoraga can just carry anybody, explain how he lost to Sukuna then. This one is 50 marks. Second question. How has Sukuna been able to tank and survive all of Gojo's attacks and techniques without dying, and how is he matching his skill level? Going head to head in a domain clash, matching his ability to learn techniques on the spot and also stay one step ahead of him every single time he looks like he's about to win. 50 marks. Third question. If you give Mahoraga to anybody else, literally any other Jujutsu sorcerer in the entire verse, would they have been able to push Gojo this far? If yes, tell us the person and prove it. This one is 50 marks. Now the last question. If the 10 shadows is what you people say it is, overpowered, busted, Mahoraga this, that, why was Megumi still mid with it? He wasn't even special grade level. And he's complete fodder to even 15-fingered Sukuna. So please explain. Explain. This one is 100 marks. I've managed to simplify these questions to the point where even the slowest Gojo fanboy will be forced to see the fact. Because you see, these are basically reality check questions that will have you arriving at the one simple fact that Sukuna is just him. That's all it comes down to. Oh man. And one last thing. As for how the fight would have gone if Sukuna never used the 10 shadows, well, it's easy to just eliminate the 10 shadows factor from the battle completely and claim Gojo would have won, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. Like I've explained earlier, the 10 shadows is nothing but a technique Sukuna is using. As a matter of fact, he has to switch loadouts between his own innate technique and then the 10 shadows, so he's depowered in some way. Everything he's been able to do in this fight is all him. The speed and power he's using to match Gojo, his skill in cursed energy manipulation and efficiency, his battle IQ, that is all him. So if he did not have the 10 shadows, he would obviously fight very differently than he is now. As a matter of fact, it's directly implied a few times in the fight that he can do that. Gojo himself was wondering why Sukuna didn't just follow up with him when he changed the conditions of his domain, the external and internal barrier conditions. But he chose to use Mahoraga instead since it's obviously more convenient. And maybe a more factual reason will be revealed at some point in the fight. But then, Mahoraga gives Sukuna the ability to adapt to Gojo's techniques, rendering it completely useless forever. So obviously he would want to use that, but if he didn't have it, he would just fight differently, and he's well capable of doing that. He was holding his own well and fine even before Mahoraga came into play. So for the ones that keep crying about this, I hope you people know that Sukuna hasn't even unleashed all of his curse techniques yet. The whole thing with the black box is there, and techniques like the fire arrow he used to exercise this same Mahoraga back in Shibuya. It's even implied and stated in the latest chapter that while Gojo has been going all out, Sukuna still has some things up his sleeves, which makes sense. After all, the 10 shadows is only something he newly acquired, and if he gets through Gojo, he will still have the rest of Jujutsu High coming at him, Yuta, Kashimo, all these people. So for his own sake, he can't go all out just yet. So bro hasn't even turned it up to the max just yet, and niggas want to talk about fraud and easy. Yeah, alright. Okay. Anyway, man, I've ranted for too long. I'll be surprised if any Gojo fan makes it through the first 3 minutes of this video, because the amount of facts I spit in this, they would have to be allergic to this shit, because ain't no way. It is time for you people to stop coping and just accept that Sukuna is him. And obviously, Gojo is him as well. That goes without saying. See, he's the one pushing Sukuna to his limits as well. So the praise is supposed to be equally distributed, but not according to you guys though. Dumbasses, you better get off your knees. So good though. Anybody that made it to the end of this video, congratulations, you know ball. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one, man. Peace out.